Three, two, one, and we're live. Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Village Made podcast. My name is Moveo Hemuli, and today we have, before we get into today's guest, we'll go ahead and pay the bills. Like my wife said, Val, on our episode, we'll pay the bills. I'd like to acknowledge our sponsors, C4 Designs and AV Build Utah. Check the link in the description below. All right, again, thank you for tuning in. Our guest today, man, I'm excited to have this guest on because I was just sharing that in the beginning, I spend a lot of time on social media scrolling, and a lot of times for different reasons, different people catch my attention. And our guest today is Leti Faitala, and so he's one of the guests that while scrolling through social media, he caught my attention just because of who he is, what he does. And because of that, I reached out, and it kind of intrigued me that he was just doing the things that he does. And so because of that, I just looked more into, the things that I saw on social media, and that the things that you're doing inspired me. And so that's why I asked you to be on the podcast. And again, I'm grateful. Thank you for coming and, sharing your time.
No,
I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I listen to your podcast a lot, and I love seeing the change, and I love what you're doing. I love that you're slowly becoming the voice of everyone, like Polynesian people in general. So thank you for having me on. I'm excited.
All right. Well, let's just get into this story. First of all, where were you before that? Sorry, the story of your name. Do you know your full name, who named you, and the meaning of your last name?
Yes. So I actually just learned last year where I got my name from. I knew where it was from, how it all happened. I just found out last year, maybe this year. My full name is Winnie Faureti Jubilee Faitala, which it was one of those names in school where people made fun of my name all the time. But my name, I go by Leti. It's just a nickname. It doesn't have anything to do with Winnie Faureti. But Winnie Faureti in English means Winfred.
Winfred.
It means okay. Winfred. And then Jubilee. So Winnie Faureti and Jubilee are both my dad's brothers. And the story was, when I was born, and before that, all my siblings have English names, except me and then my sister Tui, who has a Samoan name. And so all my life, I really kind of hated that name because it was so difficult for anybody to pronounce when I was in school in Hawaii. So when they're calling roll, you're taking roll, I know the letters coming up because they go in order.
Right.
And so even before they say my name, I'd say here. As soon as they hit the F's, I go, I'm here. How do you say that? And they would just kind of, for a few seconds, is it Weenie? 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 I'm like, oh, please. Oh, the kids are like, Weenie. So I had that a lot as a kid, but the names come from my dad's brothers. Anyways, I was born in Kentucky, where my grandma came to visit my dad in the military. And when I was born, I guess she told him to name me after his brothers, which is where the name comes from. I was kind of hoping there'd be a cooler story than that, but it really wasn't. But my last name, Faitala, it means it could mean word maker or like speech giver of some sort is where my last name comes from.
Okay.
But all my family, the Faitala side of my family, come from American Samoa in Onu. I wasn't sure we were going to...
Go ahead, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead and talk about your parents, who your parents are, and then the villages that they're from.
So my dad's family is from Onu, which is where I mostly grew up in American Samoa. It's a little island across from Tutuila. It's a little island across from Tutuila. And the population, I think it's like 450 or something around there. When I was growing up, I remember they put in a shower, like an actual working faucet. You turn, the water comes out from the top. That was amazing to me because we were living off well water. We were showering with well water. We were drinking well water, rainwater. was another thing. So it was the Samoa I grew up in was a very old version of Samoa, even compared, I feel like it was still behind Tutuila itself, but it's because we were still kind of living
Right, on the island.
on an island, which I don't want to say dark ages because we had light, but close to it, close to it, where we were still living off the land. You didn't really have any bills to pay other than electricity. But I grew up in Onu, so a very old version of Samoa.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I know you mentioned you were born in Kentucky, and then when did you move out, or when back to Samoa?
So I was born in Kentucky. Then I remember we lived in Germany, and then after Germany, we moved to Samoa and stayed with my grandparents. So my grandparents are technically kind of my mother, father figure at the time. And even my dad's sister was also the other mother figure in my life. So we didn't grow up in the nuclear family where, there's a mom, there's a dad, and all your brothers and sisters. It was my aunt that took care of us most of the time. And then my aunt Alo, I guess I should mention her. And then my grandparents were the other ones that took care of us. And there were 7 of us cousins, I think, that all grew up together. And you know how that is, where your cousins are technically your siblings.
Family, sibling.
So I think I moved to Samoa when I was 2 or 3. And it's weird that I still remember that because it's still very young. But I remember all of it. We went to Samoa. Met my older brother for the first time.
Oh, wow.
I still remember that clearly. That's still pretty clear to me because they sat us down and said, "Hey, this is your older brother." And we're like, "What? We have another brother?" And then that was cool. So it's a very, and I don't know if it's a Samoan thing, maybe it is a Tongan thing too, where the kids go and stay with the grandparents.
Right.
And so the oldest boy went and stayed with my grandparents when we were kids, that we have never met until we went to Samoa and finally met the older brother.
So how many siblings altogether? I know you mentioned some sisters and...
Yeah, total there's 8 of us.
Okay.
So 3 boys and 5 girls. And we all kind of grew up, the bottom half of us grew up in American Samoa, right, and the other ones in Hawaii, right, in Laie, who stayed with my mom's parents. And so my mom is actually from Manua, which is another
island, yeah?
Another island in American Samoa. So both of my parents come from very small islands. And they are both, when I visited several times, it was still felt like dark ages. Other than they had light. Because I visited Manua several times, and there's no airport, so you land on the grass.
Oh, wow.
You land right on the grass, and then there was a hut. I remember getting off, you go to the hut and you sign your name, I guess, on the list. So it was very old versions of Samoa than what it is now. But I know they have an airport now in Manua, a small one.
Dang. That sounds like an adventure, huh? Maybe at that young age that you went and visited.
It was the normal.
Yeah,
it was the normal. But all you know is what you see in movies, and there are bigger airports than American Samoa or Manua's airport. So
yeah, I know you kind of touched on it about growing up in Samoa. Can we go a little deeper with that? Like, what was childhood like, and just talk about the village that raised you, and just like your family, and how the I guess the village helped shape you into who you were, I guess.
Oh yeah. So the first thing, every morning before we even go to school, we have to get up and clean the yard. And the leaves, we had ulu leaves and the V leaves and all these trees everywhere. But you got to wake up every morning and pick it all up before we got ready for school. So there are days we had to wake up and the sun's not even out. And so we would go and pick up all the trash. And we learned real quick that when we're trying to pick it up real fast and get it done real fast, she'll look over to the neighbor's yard and be like, "Okay, yours are done? Okay, now go do the neighbor's yard." And we'd go over there, clean the neighbor's yard, come back home, then get ready for school. But that was every day. Like,
Did you guys learn to pick up trash, I guess, in the dark? You know, I know you mentioned sometimes before the sun came up. So, or did you guys have a light that you guys use, or you guys just kind of?
It was dark,
or it was light enough, I guess.
It was kind of dawn.
Yeah.
So you can still see, but it was still dark. And then as the light comes out, you start seeing some of the things you didn't pick up, but you got to make sure you pick it up. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. We got really good at picking up trash because some of the leaves, I swear, were like this tiny, like, and you kind of have to go through and knit through the rocks. But in Samoa, where I live, where I grew up, there's rocks everywhere. It's not dirt.
Right.
I don't know if did they do that in Tonga? Like, so we used to get rocks from the beach and just lay it out wherever you walk. And I'm thinking it was just because it rains a lot, and so there's not all muddy, and you can walk on the rocks. And so sometimes you have to move the rocks around and pick all the leaves up. So it was hard, but that's something that still stuck with me as far as like waking up early in the morning. My whole life, I still wake up at the same time. Not the same time, Samoa, but it's always in the morning, and then try to go back to sleep. So not that that's a bad thing, but it's really disciplined me to do other things.
Waking up early,
waking up early or whatever it is, I gotta get done. So that was every day, though. That was every day. There are days we'd have to go and fill up big bottles of water from the well. And go fill up at the well, bring it in, put it in the fridge, or you won't have water for the day.
Wow.
We used any bottles, really. We've used Clorox bottles. Once the Clorox was done,
wash it out.
wash out the Clorox bottle, and then fill it up with water and put it in the fridge or put it in the freezer and freeze it in there. And you drink the water, you can still taste the Clorox, but you know, when you're thirsty, you still drink it. Maybe it's the Clorox that made me this way. I don't know.
Dang, that's crazy. And then I guess like in the home, what were some of the traditions or maybe some of the culture? Was it easier to teach the culture in Samoa, living in Samoa?
So it's very, very strict Samoan culture, the Samoan culture that I grew up with. And I don't feel like Tonga is any different, because you respect your parents, whatever they say goes. There are rules where your older sibling, whatever they say goes. You know, you got to do what they say. There's no mouthing back. When you do, you know, you get, I'm trying to say it friendlier, but there's discipline, punishments, right? But it's not just from your parents. You don't just get discipline from your parents. You don't just get discipline from grandma and grandpa. Even the neighbors will help discipline you. There's been times where you try to run away from the punishment. The neighbors will chase you down, drag you back in here, sit you down in front of grandma, get the business over with, whatever it was. And I don't want to make this sound like it was a bad thing. In my head, it was a normal. But even saying that now in America, it sounds like, wow, you had a horrible childhood. But it was such a normal part of life that it wasn't just me. It was the whole village that had the same discipline. You had the same discipline in school. Whether you got something wrong, you would get, man, I feel I'm going to get in trouble for saying all these secrets. You would get punished right in school for having anything wrong. So if you're doing a math test or however many mistakes you have, you would get hit on your hand or whatever the teacher decides is the appropriate corporal punishment for. That sounds bad. My gosh, all this sounds really bad. But it's something that I grew up with. It's my normal. I don't feel like I have issues because of it. You know, I don't feel like I have any mental health issues because of it. You know what I'm saying? But that was just a normal part of life. And where were we at? What was the question again?
Just the culture being taught in the home.
That's huge part of the
exactly.
That's a huge part of the culture. And I don't know that we ever sat down and teach the culture. everything was monkey see, monkey do. That's what
It was lived, right, at the moment.
So
at the
you
time.
have to pay attention.
Right.
I had to pay attention during the Ava ceremonies. I had to pay attention during the funerals. I had to pay attention during the weddings on the things that they're doing. And then they give you your shot. You know, it's like, well, you're going to go do this. You're going to do the CE. So they give you the stuff. You go do it. You just do exactly what the first person did. They're not going to sit there and tell me, walk me through it. There's nobody that's going to coach you through it. You just have to watch. You just have to watch the first person go, make sure they don't screw up because you'll screw up. And it was very strict in the sense of the amount of respect you have to have for funerals, the amount of respect you have to have for if it's weddings or if you're doing the Ava ceremony. And that's another thing was the Ava ceremony or Kawa. The Ava ceremony that I knew in Samoa growing up with, it was such a sacred thing. Like we didn't have, there was no commercial drinking of kava. We didn't meet with the boys and go
mix.
Yeah, let's go mix. It was taboo. And I remember this when my grandma had to make the ava for the ceremony one time. And just the sacredness of the experience of anything that you do wrong, the way you hold the cup, when you throw the strainer behind you, however, any of that screws up, you're gonna get disciplined. Trying not to use horrible words. But it was a very sacred thing. So when I saw that in Hawaii, that people were actually just getting together, like to me, it did hurt a little at the time where you're like, we don't ever touch the ava in such a sacrilegious type of way.
Right. And so, yeah, I just kind of feel, now that you mentioned it, I kind of, just thinking about it, talking about monkey see, monkey do, and then you just follow in line, you fall in place.
Yeah.
And the person in front of you, just like how you talk about with the CEs and with the Alcava ceremonies. I feel like maybe as Polynesians, or maybe for me, that's why I'm a visual learner. I'm not really a book smart person or someone that can read something and then in my mind it all makes sense. For me, I need, like, if you're gonna show me, you know what I mean? That's the easiest way for me to figure something out. And now that you're saying that, I was like, oh, of course, that's why. Because now that I think of it, with my parents, they'd be like, watch me, and then, you do it. And then if you don't do it exactly how I do it, then you're going to get, you're going to get disciplined, And so I think that's a cool part that you brought up, that, being visual learners is because we just fall into place, and the things that we do is because of the person in front of us.
Yeah, and it's such a generational thing, because it's not like my grandparents or my aunts were teaching me how to be Samoan.
Right.
They were like, this is what Samoans do. This is what we do. You do this, you do that. It wasn't that way at all, right? You just kind of have to sit, watch, and make sure you don't screw up.
Yo.
But I was bringing up the Ava point, the Kava point, because sometimes I'll hear even Samoans, and it's nothing against them, that they'll say, no, that's part of my culture. And I'm like, if you knew the beatings I would get for treating the Ava this way, right, in Samoa, I don't blame them, right? Because the Samoa, that's the Samoa I grew up in. The Samoa they grew up in is here.
Yeah.
Right? It's a different Samoan culture. It's still Samoan, but it's their culture in, say, Utah, or that's the Samoan culture in California. Yeah. That's the Samoan culture in Hawaii. So I'm not mad at that at all. But there was a lot of sacredness to the Ava, the Ava that I knew, that I grew up with.
Right.
But that's something else.
And so when did you make that move from Samoa to Hawaii?
This is the weird thing, I always knew I was going to be in America as a kid. Only because watching movies, you see Arnold Schwarzenegger, you see Sylvester Stallone, all these big, huge stars, and they're all in America. You see all these movies where people all want to go to America. I remember watching Home Alone. I was like, man, I always knew I was going to be in America. I didn't know how. I used to have dreams where I would get mad at my grandma for things in my dreams, and I would yell at her in English in these dreams. Like in my head, I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to go to America. But I ended up going to Hawaii because my father passed away when he was in the military in 92, I think, 92, 93. So when he passed away, the military came to Samoa and did like a last wish things for the kids, whatever the family wanted to do. And my mom came over to the island and had asked us who wants to go to Hawaii. And I believe I was the first one to stand up and say, I'm out of here. Like, I already knew I wanted to go to America, but that's what brought me over to Hawaii, which I came to La'i in 4th grade. And so I had to learn English.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about that transition moving from Samoa. Was it like in your mind watching those movies? Was it the same America that you saw in the movies when you moved to La'i? Or what was that transition like, and what was that experience like for you?
So the funny thing is, I thought my English was good, but all the English I learned was from watching
movies,
right? Like Terminator, Ninja Turtles, all the cool movies back. That's where I learned my English from. So when I came to Hawaii, I was sure that my English was really good, but they put me in those classes, the
ESL.
Yeah, the second language English.
Yeah, second language.
So they put me in those classes. I always thought I could speak English until later on in my high school year. Some of my cousins were telling me, no, you couldn't speak English at all. I was like, really? Really? Because I thought I could speak really good English. And then they started saying all the fob words that I used to say when I was in like 4th and 5th grade. I was like, dang, I thought I nailed it, man. I thought my English was perfect from learning English from watching movies. Eventually my English got better. I still stayed in the English second language class. I think it's second language English program at the time. It was called SLEP. It was called SLEP at the time. And so all the guys I grew up with were all Tongan in that same class. So we all had the same issues with learning English, except my English got better and I never left. Because it was fun. Right. It was a fun class to be in. It was an easy class to be in. I had really cool teachers, which was Makatiag and Vanisi were both my teachers almost all my 7th through senior year. Yeah. So I never left the SLEP program.
Man, I had a similar experience too, because I want to say kindergarten through like 3rd grade, I was in the SLEP classes. But for different reasons, I thought it was cool because during the SLEP period, or that time that we did the SLEP, we left the classroom and we had to go to another classroom. And I just thought I was so cool leaving the classroom. And I thought it was a cool thing to do, but come to find out when I was like older, I was like, that wasn't actually the thing, You were actually looked at like that person, like, there's that. Yeah, there's that guy. And so, it's kind of cool that, I have the similar experience going to SLEP, but for different reasons. I thought it was cool.
You guys moved from Tonga?
No, I was just born and raised just speaking Tongan.
Oh.
Yeah. And then it's unfortunate that I don't know Tongan as much as I should anymore. But I kind of feel like that was my parents' American dream. Moving to America is for better opportunities. And so they chose to teach, Tongan when I was younger. But the older I got and the more I went through school, English was predominant. And so unfortunately, I lost my Tongan. But for you, how was your Samoan, and does it continue?
So I went back to Samoa for my some of my junior year. I went back to Samoa. I realized that my Samoan was horrible. So I was afraid to talk when I first got there. So I went to Leone High School for about 1.5 years.
Okay.
And trying to find a spot there. When you go into a new spot, you're trying to find your group of people, your crew. That was the hardest transition ever. And I didn't want to hang out with my cousins that were there at the same time all the time. They'll remember this, but they were really into this whole Christian thing at the time, which was kind of off-turning. Like, I don't want to make that Christian thing sound bad, but they were doing Bible reading in school, which is good. That's good stuff. This is just the high school me being like, nah, I'm too cool for that. So I never hung out with them. And I always tried to find my group of people. I could never find somewhere that I was comfortable when I went back to Samoa. Because there's either very Samoans and then very extreme I don't know how to say this, but they're not like they're non-Samoans, but they're more English Samoans. So you have that extreme. So you're either with the ones that speak really good or the ones that speak really good English. And anywhere in between was almost like a no man's land,
right?
Which is where I was. So my Samoan did get better. Actually, not in Samoa at the time.
Oh wow!
Just because I was so scared to say the wrong thing. It was not until I went on my mission and I got to serve Samoan speaking, and it got better there, actually more than it did in Samoa, because I had to learn big words, which was nice. So my Samoan got worse, but and again, it's one of those things that doesn't serve you at the time,
right?
You know, and I'm sure you feel the same about Tongan, right? When you have to learn Tongan, learning English, it didn't serve you in any way in school or work. And
or with my friends,
or even
at
with
the
your
park,
friends,
or
right?
hanging out. Yeah.
So it just didn't serve me at the time.
That's
until
cool.
I had to be forced. Till I was forced, and I could always understand. I could speak, but I couldn't speak that well. I wouldn't even say that I'm really, really good at it, because there's a whole other Samoan. There's the commoner, and then there's like the nobility language, which I'm not good at all.
Right.
But the Samoan got better. I think it's better now than it was in high school.
Dang, that's crazy. I like that you brought that up. You know, learning Samoan on your mission was actually where you learned it, and compared to living in Samoa, when you were living in Samoa.
Yeah, it was lot. It's just a lot of pressure in Samoa. Just a lot of pressure of being good at being Samoan, or else they don't. You know, you're not part of them. Because I moved from America, and I'm like, oh, like where you moved from? I'm like, oh, I just came from Hawaii. Oh, you been to America? Hawaii is in America, but I would never say stuff like that. It was like, oh.
So I know you mentioned going back and forth between Leone and then moving to Hawaii. And during those transitions and during those periods, at any point or any situation, did you ever feel maybe too Samoan or maybe not Samoan enough in any of those, in any situations?
I don't think I've ever had the issue of identifying myself as Samoan or not. I've always been Samoan, because all of my memories growing up as a kid has been Samoan, right? But when I moved from Samoa to Hawaii, you know, I still consider myself a first generation Samoan that moved to America, but was fortunate enough to grow up with second and third generation. So when I got here, I never really looked at anybody and be like, hey, you're not Samoan enough to talk to me. Or although there were kids that I knew in fourth, fifth, whatever, elementary and through high school that could still speak Samoan or trying to. So I've never felt the need to be like, hey, stop, you're not Samoan enough. So I never had that identity issue, just because it was something that was already rooted in me. But I see people had that issue of like, man, I wish I could be more Samoan than, you know what I mean? But I never had that issue. Maybe I had a language issue when I went back to Samoa, where I was like, where I was afraid to speak it, but I understood everything they said. I was just afraid of saying the wrong word and then being made fun of. Like, that was my biggest fear when I went. But it still wasn't as good until when you're on your mission and you're forced to speak Samoan to the people you're trying to teach.
Dang. For you, what makes you proud to be Samoan?
I don't know that I've ever like really said that out loud, where I'm like, I'm proud of, I'm happy about my Samoan heritage, but I always had this fear of making people feel like they're less, they're more less than I am, right? I grew up with a bunch of Tongans because of the SLEP class. So I grew up with a bunch of Tongans, so I never really had that feeling of like, I'm proud to be Samoan, but I'm proud of Samoans that really pursue something that they love, and I see it and I'm like, man, that guy is Samoan. Like I'll look at the rock and be like, yeah, he's Samoan. I'm Samoan. But I don't know that I've ever had a feeling of like, man, I'm so proud to be Samoan, and I think that's Hawaii's fault because we mostly reference as a people Polynesian people. I don't know if that makes any sense. So when Kahuku's coming, right, I'm not looking at the Samoans, right? I'm looking at the Polynesian community from Kahuku. Like that kind of stuff I'm proud of. When I say I'm proud of being Samoan, I'm probably just making fun of it because there's probably a Tongan in the room or just trying to clown, you know, but I'm always more proud of our people than I am of just saying I'm proud of being Samoan.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Just kind of.
Yeah, and then I think just going off of what you're talking about, being proud, you know, of our people. Man, what as Polynesians, maybe Samoans, Tongans, you know, just as Polynesians, what do we have to offer the world? What do you feel like the world can learn from us as Polynesians?
I only see this from people from the outside. So when there are English or American people that hang around with Polynesians for so long, right? You'll notice that when they have food or something, the first thing they're gonna do is offer. Right. And that's not, and you know that's not something he used to do, but because he's in our group of people, he feels like, oh yeah, let me offer this and start offering everything to all of us. And I think there's that, we have that energy of caring for one another. And it's such a huge influence. We may not be conscious of it, but you see it, right? You're even if you meet somebody new and they watch you share whatever it is that you have. If you have money, you know, I've seen our friends give people money because they have money to go eat. If we go out to Zippy's, right, they watch you. You know, they watch you. If you're out here, you're going to Denny's, they're watching you. And they know that our culture is one of those cultures that's a very caring and giving culture, and that we love that stuff. Right? We love that stuff. And so when they come around, they want to be your friend. They're going to be,
they want to do what you do.
I got some. You want some? And just start offering. And we don't want it. I just want to know that, hey, I'm glad you're seeing, you know, that it is an important thing to care for other people. I think that's the biggest thing we've got to offer. Just taking care of everyone. It's not necessarily just polys we take care of. If we're somewhere with some person that isn't poly, they don't have money or they don't want to fork up the money, you're not going to eat by yourself, right? You're going to buy something for him too. But they're learning as they hang around us. We're definitely a huge influence on that. So,
dang, that's awesome. So this is what, 14, 15 episodes in that I've asked this question, and at the base or at the core of, you know, all the answers, it's always love. You know, it's just the love that we have as Polynesians, and that's what we have to offer. You know, just the same with your answer, and the same with the answers that I've had before. And so I think for me too, that's just what makes me proud, is like just the love that we have, you know, to offer. And I think that's just huge, you know. And just like you said, we're not going to eat by ourselves, or other people, when they come around us, they're going to also do what we're going to do, you know, and they're going to eat as well. So yeah, that just makes me even more proud, you know, to be Polynesian because of that, the love, you know.
Like I still, even to this day, but this is from when I was a kid, I still can't take lunch from home and eat it at work.
Because you know someone.
Because I tell my wife this, I'm like, there's a lot of people. I can't just take this. You know, just sit there and eat. It's like, so, and I don't want to get caught hiding.
Because you're going to be labeled that person.
And then they find you. You're like, oh, do you want some?
Yeah, exactly.
But then
it's just an awkward situation.
It's just awkward. So I still have a hard time being around people and taking the home lunch. It's just sitting there and eating.
Dang, that's cool. Well, I guess for your mom, she's the one that kind of brought you over, you know, to Hawaii, and asked, you know, if you wanted to come to Hawaii, and you took that opportunity and took that chance. Do you think your mom would be proud of who you are today, and, you know, with the person that you've become, for her choice to bring you over?
Yes, I definitely was the favorite to my mom. Is that the camera?
We're throwing it out there.
I definitely was the favorite. But my relationship with my mom, I've never not loved her. I've never been upset. And I say this because she wasn't around for a lot of my life growing up.
Okay.
So I was raised with my dad's sister, who is Alo, who raised us in Samoa with my grandma and my grandpa out there. I moved to Hawaii and stayed with my aunt, and my mom was there, and then my 2 older sisters were also there. So my aunt, Lurleen, Nunu, people know her in Laie.
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about?
I know her, yeah.
So she partook of that. My 2 older sisters took care of me when I was going through high school, so I stayed with them. So it's a really strange dynamic, but never did I ever think like, maybe I have as a kid when I might have been upset at her for not being around, but every time she was around, I knew I loved her. You know, I never felt any animosity towards her whenever she was around, just because she was a very loving, caring person. Like, it was very difficult to be mad at somebody like her.
Right.
So I think she is proud, I hope. You know, I saw her last, right after my mission. She was there when I left my mission. She was there when I came home. And then she passed not too long after that. So I got home in April, and I want to say it's like September, around that time. She's diabetic.
Okay.
Bad, really, really bad diabetic. And I had come home, but I was dating my wife at the time, and I had come home, and my sister woke me up because my mom couldn't breathe. And I got up, I went over there, you know, hugging the lady, trying to encourage her to breathe. But what can you do? You know, she couldn't breathe, and I felt helpless, and it was horrible. It was a horrible feeling to not be able to help her. And so I picked her up, and I trying to carry her to the front so the ambulance can come and take her, and she just dropped, and that was it. You know, it was the last we ever spoke to my mom. We took her to the hospital, and that was the last time I ever saw her. But I knew, and it was right after my mission. I never felt like I lost. I never felt like it was a loss to us. She's been suffering for so long from diabetes. It was a win. Like, in a really weird way. It was. I was happy for her. She was comforted. So yeah, I'd like to think she's proud.
Yeah. Man, I can't imagine experiencing loss like that. You know, I've never had, like, my mother's never passed, but I've had people close to me, but it's different. I know when the mother, you know, but yeah, that's crazy. Thanks for sharing that. That's cool.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I guess now let's just get into the part where, you know, where I was talking about a little earlier.
Yeah.
Where I was scrolling through social media and just found the different things that that you put out on social media that inspired me. And so, I guess before that, where did you serve your mission that you served?
So I served in Oakland. I served in Oakland. They ran out of Samoan missionaries. No, so I ended up serving in the Samoan speaking ward for a while, and then ended up serving the rest of my mission in the Tongan speaking mission.
Oh, okay.
So I ended up learning Tongan, which actually helped improve my Samoan.
Nice.
To an extent.
In a weird way. Yeah, that's kind of...
But there's sometimes when I am speaking Samoan, I'll say Tongan words in place of, and the Samoans will look at me and like, what? I was like, wait, that's a Tongan word, sorry. Like, so I ended up doing Tongan and Samoan on my mission.
That's cool.
Yeah, which is how I caught my wife.
I know. I was going to ask that. Is that how you... Not married to a Tongan, you know? Man, I wonder what's my excuse. I married a Samoan, but I served in Brazil, so no. It didn't translate, you know?
Portuguese.
But yeah, that's cool. So for you, man, I guess for... What I saw on social media and what you were posting about, you know, just working out, and then you like drawing or like just sketching, and did a lot of work with like the notepad that you had, and then just even like pencil sketching and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. And then you also like play the guitar and sing, and then like, oh, did I say working out already? Yeah, working out. And then also these skits or these little like, I don't know what you could like. Is it skits or just like commercials or like little?
Yeah, I mean, I can explain those.
So just kind of like talk about how you got into that, And so I guess for me, what caught my attention and what inspired me was somebody as big as me, like 6'5", big Polynesian dude. But he's always into working out, Big guys usually don't like working out. And then also the sketching, like drawing and then like singing and putting yourself out there, And so that's kind of what inspired me and that's what caught my attention. And so for you, if you want to just talk about that, like where you get your motivation, who inspires you, and then is it something that you like picked up along the way, or is it something like you were born and then you were born with,
Yeah.
And so can you talk about that?
So I just want to get the workout thing out of the way. So the workouts, I've been doing that for so long. I can't remember when or how it started. Other than for football, is where everything came from. But I have to say that I'm never like motivated to go work out. Where it's just part of my life now. Where, and I like to say discipline, right? Because that's what I've taught myself to do, that a day without working out is weird to me. But that's because I've been doing it for so long, along working out with my wife as well. So we both go. So it's just something that, I don't want to compare it to like breathing, but in that sense, what I mean? I'm comforted when I'm done working out. Then I'm like, I feel good. That makes up for all the whatever horrible things I ate the day before or the day of. So the workout part has just been something that's been there. And then it kind of ramped up when I decided to do bodybuilding.
Yeah, talk about that. That's cool.
So I have to say this because I never competed in the bodybuilding thing. It was always something I wanted to do. And at one point, I had gotten close enough to probably be ready for a competition. And I haven't been to Hawaii for almost 10 years. I haven't been back home for almost 10 years at the time. Mm-hmm. And so I got a free ticket to fly home and I just dumped the competition. And I was like, I'm going to go home because I'm going to eat everything.
Right.
But I learned a ton, mostly a lot of things there about myself. I learned a lot of things about the bodybuilding sport, that it's hard, that everybody you see on the magazines, they don't look like that all the time.
Right.
All these people you see on Instagram, they don't look like that all the time. And if they do, they're probably starving a ton. So when people are aspiring to those guys, I'm like, that's what they do full time. Like, bodybuilding is a full-time sport, but it's taught me a lot of discipline. I probably took a lot from that alone, just from bodybuilding alone, because you have to build a machine that's going to get you there. And the machine was, I wake up in the morning, I cook all these meals. I'll have like 6 or 7 meals lined up, and then I'll eat it throughout the day. And I took it with me, right? So
every few hours
you're eating.
Right.
There are times I remember eating all the way through midnight, have like one more meal. I'm like, just putting it down, just putting it away. There's no question. I knew I was going to eat it either way. So I was just, and so you kind of have to build that machine where you have the least amount of willpower, right, to do that. Because willpower is not going to do much for you. If it's not there, you're not going to go and eat it, right? You're going to go whatever is the easiest thing to reach for.
Right.
But I tried to use the least amount of willpower by building that machine of workout time, of cardio time, and these things were all kind of scheduled throughout the day, and obsessively. So
yeah, exactly.
It's an obsession, and it was bad to a point where I feel like even my marriage was affected by it because all I could think about was me. Right?
It's a selfish sport,
right? It's a selfish sport. It's a very selfish sport. Whenever I see like old photos of me pop up on Facebook, like, hey, remember this? I'm like, yeah, that's that guy. I was like, I cringe a little because I don't like that. But it is a very selfish sport to get into. It's you, selfie. It's rare that you'll find people that aren't about themselves, but you have to be in part of the sport.
You have to be that way, right?
You kind of have to be, and then figure out how to be how to stay grounded. That's the hard part. But that's all the workout thing. That's where all that and it just stuck. So it just stuck with me now. I still try to keep the same schedule of working out, and it's fun. Like, I don't dread it. I don't dread it. There are days where I'm not motivated, but when I get there, it's a good time. Right? I enjoy the soreness. Like, I enjoy the hurt, the sweating. But that's all the workout stuff.
So I see that you, or when I first started like watching you on Instagram and on social media, you were lifting a lot more than you were doing cardio.
Yeah.
Or maybe posting more lifting than you were doing cardio.
Yeah.
But now I see you doing maybe even or a lot more cardio than lifting.
The gym shut down because of the coronavirus, which took me outside to do running.
And that's why you've been doing more cardio.
So now I'm like, oh, there's no workouts to film. I'm just going to film the river I'm running next to.
Right.
So the gym closed, and I still couldn't go without sweating during the day. So I would just go with my wife, and we'd run the Jordan River Trail or whatever. Then that's why people started seeing more cardio.
More cardio, Makes sense now that I think of it. But when I'm just scrolling, I'll be like, oh, there he is again. Scrolling again. There he is, like going for his walk, or running or riding your bike, or I think that's cool.
That I dreaded, though. I didn't enjoy any of that, but it was fun just to stay active during the quarantine.
Yeah. And would you say it's growing on you?
The
cardio? No. Now that the gyms are back open.
Now that the gyms are open.
Back to the weights, yeah.
Yeah, I thought I was going to stay outside and still run, but I'm like, oh, it's too hot now. So I'm back in the gym on the treadmill warming up there. Yeah, cardio's a tough one. Yeah. But I do enjoy it. It's for a peace of mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess for Polynesians, or for us, even me myself included, do you have like any like a message, or not a message, but just talking about the health of Polynesians? And because you're someone that always gets into working out and stuff, is there something that you think that we could learn, or that will enable us to do that?
I see a lot of people do these bodybuilding meal planning, which if you are bodybuilding, then do the meal plan, right? If you are a CrossFit guy and you're following a CrossFit guy on Instagram, you see his meal plan and you try to do his meal plan, it doesn't make any sense because you're not CrossFit, right? You're not a bodybuilder. If you're a regular stay-at-home, homebody type of person, just eat healthy, right? Just eat whole foods. I'm saying all this, but I just bought a bunch of cinnamon rolls that's sitting in my car right now. And I'm saying all this, but I'm saying don't try to eat like a bodybuilder if you're not going to be a bodybuilder, right? Because you see people do chicken, rice, broccoli. I'm like, what for? You can still enjoy your food, right? Learn how to eat less of it. You can still enjoy your food, eating less of it, or eating more healthy, right? As long as the ratio is 90 healthy, 10 horrible, or 80 healthy, 20 horrible. As long as you're getting more healthy, it's going to be slow, right? But that's what you want, right? You want more good than bad. Mm-hmm. If anything, you want to eat good all the time,
right?
Which is impossible because you still want to enjoy food. But I won't push it on people to do a meal plan, a bodybuilding meal plan to lose weight, unless there's like a fight coming up or you're a bodybuilder.
Right.
So I think people should still enjoy the foods. Just try to eat more healthy than, you know what I mean, than getting rid of all of the junk food that you normally enjoy. I think it's a slow process to slowly get it out of your diet and get used to replacing with healthy things. So I think we make it real difficult when you try to go cold turkey.
Yeah, jump straight in and
right
take everything
there.
out. Or
you're still, you're eating healthy, but you're still psychologically thinking of all the stuff you ate yesterday, right? So it's a slow process, and I think people should go slow unless you have a time frame, like someone
to get it done.
To get it done. Then maybe get a trainer, maybe get a nutritionist, and work all that out. But I think it's ridiculous when people are eating bodybuilding meal plans to lose weight, which I'm sure you could, but you probably won't be happy. You know what I mean?
Makes sense.
But even that plays a part too. To losing weight is being happy.
Dang, that's cool. I mean, yeah, that's something that I could work on too, is working out, you know. I just work out with the the spoon and the fork right now.
No,
But, you know,
and
it
even
just
that,
like you said, it
it's
takes,
baby steps,
yeah,
right? You don't want to just hop all in. But I know as people get better at working out and get better at dieting, you actually feel better, and then you get addicted to it, and you start wanting to find out how you can do better. And it's just a phase. It just slowly phases
yeah,
into,
like a lifestyle, right? Or
yeah. It's
kind of like
just the
into
starting,
everyday, yeah.
even if you start every day, you're like, I'm starting my diet today. I'm starting my diet today. You keep saying that, eventually it's gonna kick in.
Right. That's awesome. And I guess just talking about you want to talk about your like the film or like
So yeah.
that
So
clips that you do?
I have to say this because I'm an obsessive creative. I'm an obsessive
I guess
creative,
that's where it all starts, right? Creative, yeah.
and
Being
I'm
creative.
very obsessive. So whether it's writing or whether it's art, whether it's music, I feel like every day I have this bug to do something creative, which is why you see all these, what's the word, like jack of all trades but king of none. I'm that guy.
Yeah.
Right? So anytime I have, whether I'm at home or whether I'm at work or whether I'm doing something creative. So the film part actually started. So I started getting involved in film in 2012 is when I decided I wanted to be an actor.
Okay.
I still consider myself an actor, but I'm not on Instagram like, hey, actor, hire me. That's not what I do. But I started in 2012 where I got an agent, started going to all these auditions. And I went to so many auditions that it frustrated me so much because I was a tall and big guy.
Right.
Nobody's gonna want a tall and big guy for a Tide commercial, right? It's like, why is he so big? People are gonna ask. He's doing his laundry, but why you got the biggest guy in the world to come and throw a Tide Pod into the washing machine?
Right.
So I always felt like there wasn't a space for me out there unless it specifically said big guy or Polynesian man or 300-pound guy.
Or something with, yeah.
Then that's something I felt like
yeah.
going and doing. But at the same time, I didn't want to be typecasted as hey, there's a Polynesian guy. He'll come if you need a security guy on TV. You need like a bodyguard. I didn't want to be the same Samoan guy that everybody saw in the movies and be like, hey, Samoan guy. And what was he? He was a bodyguard, right? Yep. What was he? He was a security guard. What was he? He was a sumo wrestler, whatever, right? I didn't want to get stuck in there. So I decided myself to learn how to write scripts, which is where all the filming came from. So I started writing scripts, like all the short skits that we've done. I just write scripts, I send it to the guys, we get together, we'll film it and shoot it. And my main thing was I wanted to get reps in for making movies, right? To get good at making movies, to get good at filming, to get good at writing. And so that's where all the writing came in, where if I have some time somewhere, I have an app on my phone, I'll sit there and if an idea pops in, I'll write it in there. And I won't get back to it till, sometimes I'll get back to it in 2 months from now or 3 months from now or a year from now. I'll go back to those ideas, finish up scripts, I'll call whoever I'm filming with, go and film this whole thing. And then I got addicted to seeing something come from an idea to a finished product. And it just fulfilled me. Like it filled me up with so much joy. Like you feel fulfilled, you knew that that's what you want to do. And I knew that I didn't have a chance to be in Hollywood and be a main actor or have these big parts or whatever that was. I knew that was never going to happen because the way Hollywood saw Samoans. And I hated it so much. So that's where I learned how to write script. I had to learn how to film. One of my really good friends, Nando, he's the one that taught me mostly everything about film. I had to go on sets. So I would work as an extra. All these films here in Utah, just so I can watch. I wanted to see how they film, how they ran the production. And I would come throw my ideas. When I get together, we try best to follow that formula that I see. It's not there yet, but the reps I wanted.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to do as many as I can, where write, then read, then film, then edit, then sound.
Produce the whole, and
I
everything
wanted
all
to
part
see
of.
all of it, and I got addicted, and I still am addicted to it today. Like I still love cinema and film, how they tell stories, and mostly because I get mad at people that got mad at Moana, or get mad at people that got mad at any Polynesian film. Like The Rock was going to do Kamehameha, and I think that's still coming out. But everybody fought it, right, for a long time.
I've seen those.
But I'm like,
comments.
why aren't we working on these things? These are our stories, right? Why aren't we getting better at writing a script? Why aren't we getting better at filming? Why aren't we getting better at acting?
Right.
Why? Like, it's been so long, and I feel like right now is our time. Like that, and this upsets me. So I want to tell our stories, and I want to do it the best way that I can. And I only get better by doing more reps.
Yep.
So when I'm doing these skits that we do, they're not every week, right? We're not pushing them out every week. We're just filming them and then editing, sound and whatnot, and then put it out. Just because I want those reps of being able to write and being able to direct, being able to get better at these little things. Earlier, I'm still in love with film. That's what I love doing. So now I started, just because everybody in quarantine, we can't get together. So I just film these little things with my wife, and I'll edit it and post it and whatnot. But I want to get the reps in as often and as frequent as I can with filming. Then there's art.
Sorry, can I just jump in? Man, I just you bringing that up, I feel that's so powerful. You know, that these stories. And then just like I had mentioned earlier with Taika Waititi, when he accepted the Golden Globes, he said that Indigenous people, which is us, we're the original storytellers. And so it's so powerful that you brought that up, that why not we? Why aren't we the ones telling these stories? And so I feel like, just like starting this podcast as well, these, we're the Indigenous people, and these are our stories. And so for me, the podcast is just about stories. The people tell their stories, and in these stories that's how we connect, and that's how we build a stronger people. And if we can see other people just in whatever field they're doing, like whether it's being a doctor, a lawyer, or, just somebody, just doing good in our community, I want those stories out there so people can connect. And like the younger generation coming up, they're the ones can look up to these people, or it'll be like, oh, he's there, and because he's there, I can follow, or, because I know someone else has already, like, someone in that field, it's easier for me to connect with that person to right. And so for you wanting to tell these and share these stories, man, I feel that's powerful, because that's kind of like what we're trying to do here at the Village Made podcast, is tell the story of our people, about our people, for our people, and it's us telling our own stories, because if we leave it up to other people, they won't do it justice. Just like people are all up in arms against Moana, like you're talking about, but why aren't you the one telling that story then? Or, why do we have Polynesians telling the stories of Polynesians? Because that's our stories, and so,
those are ours. They belong to us.
Yeah. Why don't we do something about it?
We tell it, and we're in an age now where we don't have to wait for a big movie production to come out. Yeah. Right? To come out and say, like, hey.
We have platforms. Yeah. We have different
now you've
things.
got YouTube, you've got Instagram, you've got all these platforms that you can make these short films for whatever it is. You can be the star of your own movie, whatever you decide to do, right? And we just got to put reps in just to get better at telling stories.
Yes.
Which is why I love film so much and why I'm doing it. Trying to do it as often, and would love to do it full time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it does upset me when we're like, oh, The Rock did this, and The Rock, someone was this. The Rock is like, The Rock is still putting our people on the map.
He's done more for our people than what you're, whoever's complaining,
Everybody knows in general, right, what a Samoan is. Like, everybody knows The Rock Samoan, and The Rock went up and did his Samoan thing, and all the Samoans went up and blew him up on Twitter, Instagram, how horrible his Samoan was. And I was thinking to myself too, I'm like, man, that's cold, man. The Rock's out there putting us out there. But as soon as I went and watched the film and I walked out, I couldn't help but make fun of it.
Right.
But I would never do it publicly.
Right.
In my head, I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe you could have. But I understand where Samoan people are coming from, and I understand where The Rock is coming from. So I love that The Rock is doing that.
Yeah.
I don't like that our people are dragging him down on Twitter or internet or whatever it is.
I don't know. I think there's one thing that I wanted to throw out there also. It's not like when they did that movie Moana, it's not like they threw or they just kind of like had an idea and they just put it together.
Right.
But behind the scenes, I know...
With Dion.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah.
She, her, and there was, a few other people on the Samoan side that came, or whether it was Samoan or just the Polynesian side that came in, and they were like the people that Disney, relayed, like they went back and forth and they collaborated. And so, she's also from Koku,
Yeah.
Dion Fonoti. Shout out to her.
Everybody was like, I was proud. Okay, maybe I'll take this back. I was proud of being Samoan when things like that. I'm like,
nice.
I know. But yeah, when I saw Dion, I was like, oh man, that's so cool.
And her name came up in the credits.
Yeah,
and I was
her name
like,
came up in the credits. Yeah. I was like, man, that was really neat for Dion to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm always proud of our people when they're big projects like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Moana was one of those that it is the people, it is our culture, it's our story.
Yeah.
And I feel like Disney showed the respect by taking the project there to research. So even though it wasn't a specific, it was a specific culture. But the essence of it was still in there. I mean, I feel like the girl was in Onu, like Moana.
Basically, yeah. Your little island.
A little island.
Yeah. Man, I guess can we go deeper or maybe talk a little bit more about that process? How you're talking about reps, like just that process of, although you're not there yet, but you continue to want to do the reps and you continue to want to do, just the work, because a lot of people see the end or like see the shine, but they don't see there's a grind, there's the part that you have to build up to what you want to achieve. And so you want to talk a little bit more about that?
That idea just comes from, really it's like football practice, right? It's like you can't get better unless you're consistently working on something. And even just in habits in general, right, where you feel like, oh, you can do something for a week. Say you do, if you want to work on, let's say like basketball, right? If you're left-handed, you want to work on your right hand dribble, right? Yeah. So you try to dribble your right hand, say half an hour every day for 7 days, right? That's a lot of time. And now you think you get something better. But what if you do half an hour twice a day, 7 days? You know what I mean? And it's not the matter of days, how many days you've been working on it, where it's a matter of how many reps you've put in. You know what I mean? You get better at your step the more often you do it. So that's where that comes from, where I'm like, the more I can work on film, the more I can write, the more I can shoot, the more I can edit, the better I get, and that's inevitable. And you can apply it to anything. Right? It doesn't matter what it is. You want to be the best chef in the world. You're ready to be cooking breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 7 days straight and see how good you get over just cooking one good meal once a day. Once a day. You know what I mean? But that's where that idea comes from, was just having to get into reps, like weightlifting, right? The more reps, you want more sets, you get stronger and stronger. But that's where that principle idea comes from. It's just having to put in more reps on whatever your craft is, right? You can probably see, even with your own podcast, and I see it, right? So I watch it and your podcast gets better and better and better. You get more and more comfortable, and it just gets better the more episodes you make.
The more reps you talk,
it doesn't get worse. The hope is that it's getting better. Right. But that's where the idea of reps, and I'm not a good clout guy. I'm not on Instagram be like, hey, we're filming something, come check it out.
Follow or do this. Yeah.
I'm not that guy, because I just want to focus on getting better. I don't want to spend energy shouting myself out on my own Instagram. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like that for me personally. I just like to work on something and have my own self be in it completely. And I have a very bad habit of being obsessive. I haven't been obsessive, which is bad. My wife knows all. I can get lost in something unless she tells me no. And it's the same with anything, whether it's art. When I'm doing a lot of art, I kind of just wish silence. When my wife's like, "Oh, we're talking," I was like, "Can you just," so I can just. But I understand, right, where my time needs to be and when the right time is to do that. But reps are important, and I think people should realize that it's probably more important than having to say you work out once a day or whatever your craft is. You work at it once a day versus working at it twice a day.
Yeah. Man, so would you say with this being the creative, whether it's on the guitar or whether it's drawing or whether it's writing, like, or acting, this creative space that you're in right now, would you say that's your passion?
Yes. And I say that because it does fulfill me in
right. You mentioned it fulfills you.
Yeah, in such a way. So when I feel like I have to do something creative every day just to feed it.
Yeah.
Right. Whether I'm drawing or I'm not the best singer, I'm not the best guitar player, but it and I don't care that anybody's be like, this guy's not that guy. I don't even care because I don't think I'm that good. I just enjoy it so much. It just fulfills me and continues to reaffirm what I am, like what my identity is. Right. And those are those things that are affirmations for me on where I need to be or what I should be doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Man, just, because you post, just hearing you say that, and because you post it, just the courage to post it, and then for me to like come on, social media and see these things, that's why I found like inspiring and inspired by you because of that. And then, just you're putting yourself out there, and man, just talking to you and just being inspired even more, and so, because I was inspired by what you were posting, but to hear the whole story or to hear the, just the whole thinking, the thought process behind what drives you and what gives you the motivation, I find that even more inspiring, and I'm sure people will find it as inspiring as well.
I hope so. I hope it's of some use to somebody. But I want to say obsessive creative, that I have to be constantly, and my mind's running all the time where I'm constantly thinking of creative things to do.
I just wanted to, I'm going to pull it up here, but one of my favorite quotes from Disney, sorry, I should have put it. Well, I just thought of it now that you're talking about creative, Oh, there it is. You can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have. Maya Angelou. Sorry, not Disney.
No,
that's one of my favorite quotes.
That's a fact. And I think creativity is a muscle, just like anything. I think anybody can get good at it. It's just how many reps you put in to get better at whatever that creative space that you're in is.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think creativity is limitless when you're working at it.
Yeah,
I enjoy it, man.
I can see the passion. I can see the drive. Yeah,
I'm a little, and then when I say obsessive, it's bad. Like I woke up this morning and just started writing, and I was like, "What do you do?" I just felt the need to write something.
Well, yeah, and so I just kind of have an experience with that I kind of, I just want to share. But before, posting on social media for me was hard in the beginning because that's not who I am or who I was, like I just never posted. But once I started this podcast, I knew that to push out this content or, for people to actually know what I'm doing or, to even like to look at what I'm doing, I need to be posting more on social media. And so for me, I just post once a day, or that was my goal in the beginning, was just to post once a day. And then there came a time after a couple of weeks of just posting once a day that I would find more content to post. And so I felt like, oh man, I got to save this content or like save this, whatever I found, to post at a later date. And then I was just like, ooh, at least I know that I'm set for the next couple of days to post things. But after a couple of weeks of that, I was like, you know what, maybe let me just post, like if I find some motivation or find inspiration or find something to post today, let me just keep posting whatever I find today and don't worry about not having content for later or not having. And the more I found that I keep posting these things, the more content I found or more things that I found to post. And so just going along with this quote, the more that you use or the more than you have.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that made sense, but like I just continually finding that the more that I do put out there, the more that I do find. Whereas in the beginning, I felt like the more I hoard, or like, let me just save this for another day, like for my once a day, because I thought I was going to run out, And so that just kind of goes to that creativity. Right. The more you use, the more you have.
Yeah, I think for you, your responsibility gets tougher and tougher because you have such a really cool platform for Polynesians in general, not just for somebody that's in real estate, not just for it's like the normal Polynesian people can all come here and relate to whoever it is.
Right.
So I think you kind of have that. That's a lot to carry right now because that's now going to be your responsibility, right? You're going to be a voice. And I think that's good. You keep finding anything that inspires you, whether or not it inspires anybody else, if it's not for them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think there's a ton of people like that are afraid to post, whether it's music or whether it's art, whatever it is. But when you look at what your talents are, they're not for you. You know what I mean?
Talk on that, man.
So you're not you don't draw pictures for yourself. I'm not going to draw a picture like, damn, this is good. Put it away.
Right.
Next one. Right. Because the talent is yours, but it's not for you. Right. Talents, any kind of talent like that, whether you do art or whether you do film, it's for the world. Yeah. Right. And you can't help but some of that content would inspire someone else, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the wheel you want to get going, right? So let people know that, hey, I'm putting myself out there. These are my talents. They don't belong to me. Like everything I do, they don't belong to me. It's everyone else. God didn't give us this to be like, hey, enjoy playing piano.
Right.
Like, hey, enjoy filming things and then watching it on your TV. That's just not the way those types of talents work. And it's not just that, it's even in real estate or whether it's
right.
And you can with real estate, because there are people that make a lot of money and it feels like they flash it, throw it around and this. But if they're like Polynesian people that I know personally that have started from the bottom and worked their way to the top, it makes it look very possible that I could do that.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? But like I said, that talent is not theirs, right? Whether it's, if you're an accountant, you're great at it. Yeah, you can just sit there and account your stuff because that's free. You can account for everybody else. So I think when you have that kind of mentality where what good are your talents if you're just going to use it and keep it to yourself? It's not for you. In my head, at least in my head, those talents are not for you, right? And if you're using it for a business, right, then you're using it for a business to take care of you and your family or whatever your bills are. But it's not something for you to just sit there and enjoy on your wall.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Man, thanks for that. I appreciate, that's kind of cool, the way that you put it, that you've described it. And so I guess for me, this is for the village, the Village Made podcast.
Well, it's just that we have so many Polynesians like that because we're taught to be humble, and you can still be humble and share your talents at the same time. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a weird situation that I want to say our generation is put in that situation. Whereas the younger generation coming up, they kind of have this freedom to be an individual.
More free, right?
Yeah, they have that individual because there's no blueprint for them. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a blueprint for us. It's like football,
straight from the
college. That's our blueprint. Anything out of that, it doesn't make sense.
Right. So, man, just speaking of that, I guess the last question for me to you is, as Polynesian, what are some things we have to unlearn?
What is the one thing?
I know you kind of touched on it with this, but
well, that's part of it.
Maybe
we can get another. We can get another. No, I think being a punctual Polynesian goes a long way. So I think we got to unlearn the Hawaii time or unlearn the Polynesian time. I think that's a big one. And another big one is the way we support each other. I don't like when you see some comments that are very negative towards another Polynesian who's trying to do whatever it is, whether it's they're trying to do film and you have these negative comments towards it. I was like, I wish we could unlearn that. But again, that comes from being taught that Polynesians need to be humble and you can't brag about your talents or whatever it is. You can't be that Polynesian.
Right.
And somebody's going to come in and tell you that in very horrible ways. But I wish we could be more supportive of any Polynesian, even if it's not the best content, or whatever it is. Let's support it, right? Let's support the artists. Let's support the film. Let's support the music. Let's support all these people that are putting themselves out there in hopes that it gets better. Like their talent progresses from here to somewhere amazing. Whereas most have talent and then they stop because of us. We're on there, they're doing all these negative comments to get them to stop or whatever, in whatever success that they find.
Because first of all, it took courage for them to post it.
Yeah.
But then we're the ones, destroying their courage, or, like, oh, why he could do that? Who do you think he is, know? And then we just kill that, and they don't have the courage enough to overcome those discouraging comments.
And one of the reasons I supported your podcast was seeing you put yourself out there. I was like, cool, man. Every episode I'm going to watch, I'm going to share this guy's stuff because I wanted you to get better. Like I want you to start to find your place,
right?
Whatever it is, So I really thoroughly enjoyed you just taking the shot. And it's probably still taking some, I don't know if there were negative comments and there might have been, there might not have been, I don't know. Right. So I'm just glad that you did this.
Yeah.
And it only gets better from here. Like the reps, your reps.
Exactly.
Get your reps in,
man. I guess for everyone that watched this, I hope you guys are just as inspired as I am. Leti, the creativity, the space that you're in. That's, initially what drew me, and that's what caught my attention. And just the deeper I looked, or the more that I looked on, I just like, man, I could learn from this guy, and this guy inspires me. And so, again, thank you. I appreciate, the time.
Thanks, man.
And just to end this, we'll just go through some rapid fire questions. So the first thing that comes to your mind, just go ahead and let us know what comes to mind. So what takes up so much of your time?
Right now, audiobooks.
Gotcha. What do you wish you knew more about?
Money.
Who or what inspires you?
Passionate people.
What are some things you had to I guess we kind of covered this, yeah. Had to unlearn. You want to take it again, or we'll just skip it, yeah?
Let's reemphasize being on time.
What's your favorite book?
Dang, there's so many. I probably listen to Atomic Habits a lot.
Okay.
By James Clear. If you want to learn more about habits, that's probably one of my favorite ones that I've listened to several times.
Yeah. What's special about the place you grew up?
So I got to grow up in Onu. Is special. It's rare to find anybody from there. So my wife's lucky. But no, Onu is very small town, small village. So it's special in the sense of like, no matter where you go there, for me, you're going to be fed. Wherever you go, it could be any time of day, lunch, wherever you accidentally walk by somebody's house, you better eat or it's kind of rude. Mm-hmm. And then there's Laie too, which, oh man, I love our camaraderie. I don't like that word, but camaraderie, right? I love, no matter where Kahuku goes, Laie, Haula, Koku, wherever Koku goes, the crowd's there.
Yep.
And I love it when people are like, man, I love it when Kahuku goes and supports the team wherever, man. It's always a full crowd, and I'm just inside. I'm
Makes you proud.
Yeah, and I'm like, man, I love that so much. And even when we see each other at the games, everybody knows that Kahuku this, Kahuku that, and we're all talking and having a good time. And it don't matter what background or wherever we grew up from, whether it's Haula, Laie, and Kahuku. You know what I mean? We're all, wherever we go, it's fun.
Yeah.
I love seeing that.
What's the luckiest thing that's happened to you?
Oh man, I think I've been fortunate. Well, the right answer is my wife, right? That's the right answer.
Shout out to the wifey.
Shout out, Bo. But I think I've been very fortunate to have been raised by just a bunch of women.
Strong
very
women.
Fortunate. Yeah, very, very fortunate that my grandma played a huge part in my life, that my Auntie Alo, who's my other mother, played a huge part in my life. To my sister Grace and my sister Tui, my sister Janice and Ashley, like they've all played a huge part in my life in trying to be a mother to a little boy.
Yeah.
To me, you know, so I've been very fortunate to having been surrounded by women, as well as including my wife. So yeah, I'm very, very lucky in that sense. So anything with like fatherhood and whatever, I'm probably don't know too much about other than what I see, but
Right.
very fortunate to be raised by a bunch of mothers. Love you guys. I love you.
Man, beautiful. What have you only recently formed an opinion about?
Money. So
Finances.
finances. Man, ever since the coronavirus hit, your job doesn't feel so secure anymore, which I thought it was.
Which you were secure.
Yeah,
thought was secure.
You felt secure,
Right.
but now you don't know that it's as secure as I thought it was. So I've been listening to a lot of like financial books, trying to learn how to invest money, how to pay off things, and you know what I mean? Like and we're not fluent in this language of money. We're definitely not fluent as a people. I don't blame anybody for that. I think we're just
Exactly.
the dream is to come to America, work really hard, you know, buy whatever you want, right? That's kind of the general consensus of what we know what money is.
And there's no one to show us.
And there's no one that can show
no
us
one
like,
had
hey,
$1 million before,
Yeah.
you know, like how to show us.
Yeah. So
Okay, this is what you do. This is how you divide it, or you know, we're
and
still trying to figure that out.
investing money, like investing in real estate, those kinds of things are so foreign to us that we don't see. And I'm only now learning to try to have your money work for you instead of you consistently working for it.
Yeah.
I'm not anywhere in that area, but I'm learning, right? I'm learning to
Doing the reps, taking the reps,
learning how to manage money or trying to make more money using money. So,
Right. What song will guarantee to make you dance?
Ooh, Michael Jackson, Rock With You.
What could you give a 40-minute presentation on with no preparation?
Either probably like fitness or creativity.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the two things we talked about. Those are two things that I'm probably super passionate about.
Yeah. And what are you looking forward to most in the next 10 years?
To do a full cast movie with just Polynesians is like, and that's a tough one because there aren't that many Polynesians that are as dedicated to film as there are very few of us in the industry. So that's something that I really want to do, is have a full cast Polynesian, full crew Polynesian, and tell our own Polynesian stories. And I mean, we're working on something, but getting there is going to be a huge, huge challenge.
I want to say, like, just from what I've seen or my point of view or perspective, I feel like Australia and New Zealand's ahead of us in that.
Right.
Because they already, you know, have already feature films and, you know, like with more actors and Polynesians. But
New Zealand is very fortunate that they have programs for Polynesians there to go and learn film and to go and learn any kind of art thing. There's programs for them to do it there, which I'm hoping we can do here. Hopefully everybody did their census so we can have those programs for
the
Pacific Islanders.
set aside
so then
for
you'll
us,
have money, a budget for creatives to do something with that budget. Can we still do the census? Is that?
Good question. I'm not sure.
Hopefully everybody did it.
When people come to you for help, what do they usually need help with?
It's either like work, the same thing, fitness or creative projects. Yeah.
What is something you think everyone should do at least once in their life?
Ooh, I think everybody should eat a bat at least once.
That's from your mom's island now.
Yeah, we ate bats growing up, but when they started giving bats a bad name on TV about eating bats and coronavirus, I'm like, what? We ate hella bats when I was a kid, man. I eat a lot of bats. Or try some kind of exotic food at least once, right?
And which of your scars has the best story behind it?
I have one right on my forehead. I don't know if you can see it there.
I see it, yeah.
It was right here. I don't even know if my aunt and them know about this story, because when we were kids, you couldn't climb trees. We weren't allowed to climb trees. If you get caught, you get the discipline. It's got to be a friendlier word. Yeah, so right after Hurricane Ofa, I want to say, the trees were they all broke, and so some of the long trunks was hanging. And I don't know what I was thinking. I decided to go hop on the trunk. I started swinging on it, and it broke, and it fell and landed right on my forehead. And so there was a big old scar right here that when I went home, I knew my grandma was going to see it. So they didn't have a mirror anywhere. I went to the water, like by the like a
and you
pond
can see your
somewhere,
reflection.
trying to see my reflection.
Yeah.
You can really see it. I'm like, dang, you can see it. Started washing it so you can't see it. And then every time I walked into the house, I just kind of looked the other way so my grandma didn't ask any questions about
That's
this.
Funny, yeah.
Because I knew I was going to get disciplined.
And finally, if you could give back to your village, how or what would you do?
Originally, one of the things I wanted to do was get water to the island I grew up on. They just put in a pump there. So now my sister has a little pump thing at her place. So they can actually pump water to drink and to cook, which I'm like, oh, thank you. Because they do have running water, but it's not healthy at all to drink. But another thing was I don't know if they have computers or like really good supplies out there. That's probably one thing I'd love to, if I had the funds to do that, to go over there and find a way to better their education situation.
Yeah.
You know. And then Laie Kahuku and Houla needs is we need a rec center somewhere where we can continue to pump out these athletes, because there's so many that come from Kahuku, and it's all from like, Rocky IV type training. Second-hand, third-hand equipment.
Laie Park, Kahuku Park, Houla Park,
wherever it is, that's where we got our reps in. So I'm hoping
there has to be a better way.
That would be a big one for our community back home. Is just have a place to become better and have some really good, passionate athletes that really want to do football. But even hopefully there's people that are creatives that aren't.
I agree. Yeah.
I mean that have a space for them to go and be creative, whether it's film or. That would be nice too, because I feel like we have, because there's a lot of pressure for us to play football.
Exactly, the community pressure.
Yeah, where they don't look at artists and be like, "You're gonna go somewhere."
Yeah, exactly. But we're talented.
Than
there's just
so
football
much,
players.
There's more talent than football. I think there's a lot of smart and creative kids that I see up and coming now that I see that are using their talents for things. So. Something like that, some space where we can encourage that kind of behavior instead of just football. Yeah, because I was one of those kids that I love football.
Weren't we all though? I feel like
even me, everything else too.
Just being a bigger person, like play football.
Yeah, well, you can't be a big guy. You can't be a big guy and not play football.
Exactly.
And then I couldn't be a big guy and read comic books. So it was like one of those things where I hid comic books for a long time. That's something else.
But that's what inspires me. So you just never know who you inspire. And so, man, again, nothing but the best for your future, and with these films that you want to do. And I imagine one day that we'll cross paths again, and we'll be, like 10 years down the road. Hey, you want to do my podcast again? And then we'll talk about it. So.
Oh man.
But yeah, again, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure getting to know you more and your story. And I'm sure just as inspired as I am, other people will feel inspired. And so, again, thank you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate having me on, man. It was fun.
Yeah.
Glad you finally got to come and do this, because I do watch all the episodes.
Awesome.
So I have some things for you to sign. I'm just kidding.
So, yeah, again,
it's been fun, man.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Village Made Podcast. Bulavinaka.